The 1960s stands out as one of the most revolutionary and transformative decades in the 20th century, characterized by a dynamic interplay of social, cultural, and political upheavals. It was a time when the youth took center stage, challenging the established norms and paving the way for a counterculture that would leave an undeniable mark on history. This vibrant era witnessed the seismic shift in societal attitudes, embracing the spirit of liberation and self-expression. For the first time, the city streets dictated the trends, redefining the aesthetics of a decade. Miniskirts, kaleidoscopic colors, and audacious patterns became emblematic of a new wave of self-confidence and rebellion. The fashion landscape of the 1960s liberated both men and women from the sartorial constraints of previous decades, ushering in an era of bold experimentation and individuality. Unafraid to challenge the status quo, embracing a spirit of optimism, exploration, and the pursuit of a better, more inclusive world. This is a decade of youth and counterculture who left an undeniable imprint in fashion but also shaped the trajectory of society in ways that continue to resonate today. The fashion of the 1960s can be divided between the early, mid, and late 1960s, with very distinctive styles. The early 1960s retained some elements of the 50s silhouette, but began to move towards a more streamlined and less structured look. The waistlines were higher and dresses started to feature a more A-line or a shift silhouette, moving away from the tightly fitted styles of the 1950s. One of the pioneers of this silhouette was Yves Saint Laurent, with his first solo collection for Christian Dior with the trapeze silhouette in his 1958 spring-summer collection named Trapeze for the House of Dior. Dresses remained a staple for women's fashion, but hemlines began to rise. The shift dress, a straight and boxy dress without a defined waist, became particularly popular. A-line dresses and skirts, which flared out from the waist, were also common. Knee length and just above the knee were typical hemline lengths. Bright and bold colors dominated the early 1960s fashion. Pastels and vibrant colors were popular choices. Geometric patterns, checks, polka dots and stripes adorned dresses and separates. Flats, low-heeled shoes, and kitten heels were popular choices for everyday wear. Pointed-toe shoes, often with decorative details, were very fashionable. The early 1960s hairstyles for women included a bouffa and beehive styles characterized by volume and height. In the 1960s, the professional hairdresser achieves an importance comparable to the hairdressers of the 18th century. One in 3 women in America would dye their hair, and about $45 million were spent in drugstores and $250 million in beauty parlors. Wigs will become a massive industry. When European countries can no longer supply for the demand, the industry turned to India. Prices range from $5 for cheap synthetic ones to more than $500 for high-quality made of human hair. This in the 1960s. There was no stigma attached to wearing a wig. It was practical, avoiding hours in the salon. In the early 1960s, makeup trends emphasized a natural look with soft eyebrows, pale lips, and heavy use of mascara. False eyelashes were also popular, contributing to the wide-eye, youthful appearance. They were manufactured in mink or human hair. Eleanor Rubinstein invented a waterproof mascara. Eyeshadows were offered in sets, and foundation became more natural, matching the natural color of skin. Darker shades were created to match darker skin tones. Overall, the early 1960s fashion for women was marked by a departure from the structured and elaborate styles of the 1950s, embracing a more relaxed and modern approach that set the stage for the bold and adventurous fashion of the later part of the decade. The mid-1960s was a transformative period for fashion, heavily influenced by the burgeoning youth culture and the emergence of street style as a powerful force in shaping trends. This era saw a departure from traditional conservative styles, with young people seeking to express themselves in ways that defied established norms. Fashion is dictated by the streets for the first time. This is the moment of the miniskirt attributed to Mary Quant. Vibrant and contrasting colors were at the forefront in the mid-60s. Young people embrace both patterns such as stripes, checks, and polka dots, often mixing and matching them to create eye-catching and unconventional looks. Psychedelic prints also gained popularity, reflecting the influence of the counterculture. Space and futuristic themes became an influence, and materials like plastic are introduced in clothes. Young people did not look for long-lasting clothes and materials. They looked for novelty, which means cheaper clothes and more of them. This is the beginning of the walk towards fast fashion. Women's hair became more natural. Vidal Sassoon will revolutionize hairstyles with geometric cuts that would follow the natural movement of the hair. Makeup became more theatrical and daring in the mid-1960s. Eyes were often adorned with vibrant eyeshadows and heavy eyeliner, and false eyelashes remained popular. Mid-1960s fashion, influenced by youth culture and street style, represents a dynamic and rebellious period in which young people used clothing as a form of self-expression, challenging established norms and paving the way for the countercultural movements that would define the later part of the decade. The late 1960s saw the full bloom of the hippie and bohemian movements. Loose, flowing garments such as maxi dresses and peasant blouses became popular. Earthy tones and natural fabrics like cotton and hemp were favored, reflecting a desire for simplicity and a connection to nature. Bell-bottom pants became a signature fashion item in the late 1960s. These trousers flared out dramatically from the knee downward and were often worn with platform shoes. Both men and women embraced this flamboyant and distinctive style. Miniskirt, popularized in the mid-1960s, continued to be a fashion staple, but by the late 1960s the hemline dropped, giving the rise of the maxi skirt. Long flowing skirts became a symbol of the free-spirited and the unconventional ethos of the time. Late 1960s saw an increasing interest in global cultures, reflected in fashion through the use of ethnic prints, embroidery, and accessories. This period of fashion encapsulated the revolutionary and free-spirited ethos of the time. It celebrated diversity, rejected established norms, and embraced a bold and experimental approach to the laid groundwork for the eclectic styles of the 1970s. The 1960s produced a plethora of style icons who played pivotal roles in shaping fashion, influencing trends, and capturing the spirit of the era. These individuals, known for their distinctive and influential styles, continue to be celebrated as icons of the 1960s fashion. For men, the Beatles played a significant role in shaping men's style. The Beatles were not only influential in the music scene but also major fashion trendsetters. Their early mop-top hairstyles and tailored suits defined the mod look of the mid-1960s, while their later embrace of colorful and eclectic styles reflected the broader cultural shifts of the late 1960s. Mick Jagger, frontman of the Rolling Stones, was not only a musical icon but also a fashion trailblazer. His flamboyant stage presence, colorful and bohemian wardrobe, and androgynous style influenced the fashion sensibilities of the 1960s, particularly within the countercultural movement. As for women's, this decade had a variety of style icons. Right in the beginning of the 1960s, Jackie Kennedy captivated the world with her timeless elegance. Known for her classic and sophisticated style, she popularized the pillow box hat, oversized sunglasses and shift dresses, leaving an undeniable mark on the 1960s fashion. Still from the UK, Twiggy became the face of the swinging London mod scene. Her androgynous look, characterized by a pixie haircut, oversized eyes, and slender figure, revolutionized the fashion industry. Twiggy's influence extended beyond the runway, making her iconic representation of the youthful and mod aesthetic. But French style icons of the 1960s also played a crucial role in defining and popularizing the effortlessly chic and sophisticated aesthetic that is often associated with French fashion. These individuals became symbols of elegance, individuality, and a certain nonchalant allure. Brigitte Bardot was the epitome of sex appeal and casual glamour of the 1960s. With her beehive hair, cat-eye makeup, and figure-hugging dresses, her casual yet sensual style often featuring casual dresses, ballet flats. She embodied the carefree and natural elegance that came to define the French fashion of the 1960s. Jane Birkin, the English-French actress, singer, and cultural icon, was known for her effortless and bohemian chic aesthetic. She combined classic and casual pieces, creating a look that felt both comfortable and stylish. Her preference for loose-fitting dresses, oversized shirts, denim, and natural fabrics reflected a carefree and nonchalant approach to fashion. The 1960s was a transformative era for fashion marked by the emergence of groundbreaking designers who shaped the industry and contributed to the cultural revolution of the time. These designers introduced innovative styles that reflected the spirit of the decade. As a key figure in the mod fashion movement, Mary Quant played a pivotal role in defining the look of the swinging 60s, credited with popularizing the miniskirts and creating youthful, fun designs that captured the energy and optimism of the era. Quant's contribution to the fashion scene earned her recognition as a trailblazer in the 1960s. French designer André Courrèges was known for his avant-garde and futuristic designs. He pioneered the use of geometric shapes, sleek lines, and space-age influences in fashion. Courrèges is credited with introducing the go-go boots and vinyl clothing, creating a bold and modern aesthetic that resonated with the youth culture of the 1960s. Spanish-French designer Paco Rabanne was a visionary known for his unconventional use of materials such as metal and plastic. His avant-garde designs, often inspired by technology and science fiction, challenged traditional notions of fashion. Futuristic creations were emblematic of the experimental and boundary-pushing spirit of the 1960s. Pierre Cardin, a French fashion designer, was a pioneer of the space-age fashion on geometric silhouettes. He embraced modernity, futurism, creating innovative designs that often featured geometric cutouts. Cardin's influence extended beyond clothing as he ventured into accessories, furniture, and even automobile design. Yves Saint Laurent revolutionized the fashion industry during the 1960s. He introduced iconic designs such as the tuxedo jacket for women, le smoking, and the Mondrian dress, inspired by the works of artist Pierre Mondrian. Saint Laurent's ability to blend classic elegance and modernity made him a leading force in shaping the fashion landscape of the decade. The fashion of the 1960s was a revolutionary and dynamic cultural phenomenon that reflected the spirit of change and experimentation characteristic of the era. From the early years of timeless elegance influenced by figures like Jackie Kennedy, to the later part of the decade marked by the bold, avant-garde styles of the counterculture, the 1960s witnessed a diverse range of fashion trends. The legacy of the 1960s fashions endures in contemporary styles, with elements of mod, bohemian, and space-age aesthetics continuing to influence designers and fashion enthusiasts. The era's emphasis on self-expression, individuality, and breaking away from established norms laid the groundwork for future fashion movements, making the 1960s a pivotal and iconic period in the history of fashion.